Hi everybody, Rob here from the Oyster House Boys. I wanted to talk about a patch that I put together, and it was quite a simple patch, but I wanted to talk about the OCT, or the OCHD, which is the DivKit module that I've been banging on about recently, just to show how cool it is. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through of the patch, and then I'll just let it play through, or I'll play the audio, which I've got recording in the background anyway. So I've got marbles as a trigger source and a volts per octave source, and this is going, personally I've got a very kind of simple baseline going on with the Roland 512, and that's just going into the Pittsburgh modular state variable filter, which is really cool. It's my favorite filter of all time, and that's being modulated by the OCT. It's quite a slow modulation. You can see the speed on the OCT here. It's set at about 10 o'clock, and the modulation for the filter is in the third output up, and so it's a pretty slow modulation. Anyway, let's get on to it. So marbles goes into rings, and it's triggering, it's got the volt per octave, and it's triggering the strum, and no, it's not. That's completely wrong. The strum is being modulated by the OCT as well. Volts per octave is coming from marbles. Then the outputs are both going into clouds in the left and right, and then OCT is controlling a couple of things. It's controlling the position and the size, but the freeze is actually coming from a gate out from marbles, as you can see there. Now the output of clouds, which is quite a big freeze with lots of texture. You can see the controls here. The texture's at almost 3 o'clock, blends almost at 3. Density and gain are both about 10ish. Position's right at the start. I'm letting everything just deal with that because I've got that being modulated by OCT. Now I've got one output going into Veils and one output going into my Z DSP from Tip Top, which has got the Valhalla chip in it, and this is running the Niflheim. I think that's how you say it. I have no idea. Which is fairly big. This is set to about 3 o'clock for the decay, about 11 o'clock for tone, and about 11 o'clock for chorus. So it's long, but it's not too bright. It's not too overpowering. And obviously that's in the mix on just the one channel. The other channel is going to the Roland filter, which then goes back into the mixer. Okay, so why am I always banging on about this OCT from DivKit then? Well, it's because it has so many channels that you can really breathe some life into your patches. And I've seen patches like this with rings and clouds, or even marbles, rings and clouds, and they're all very pretty, they're very nice, but they tend to be quite, static's the wrong word, because just by the nature of these modules they've got quite a lot of life in them. But I think bringing something like OCT into the mix really helps to kind of give you much more expression, and if you're into like generative ambient stuff, it's a fantastic thing. But even if you're, I mean, I've used it for drums and all kinds, it's just a brilliant module. So OCT is in here and it's modulating my structure and position on rings, as well as the brightness here. So that gives you quite a lot of variation in timbre of the different rings, which is set to one note and a sympathetic strings, by the way. Sometimes I think I would swap the brightness for damping, and that in conjunction with the position, kind of, if you imagine a guitar player moving their right hand, I play guitar, as you can probably see on the wall, away from the bridge, where you get a much harder pluck with a fast attack, to somewhere near the middle of the string where you get a slower attack and a bit more of a kind of a swell, and that's what I like getting from these two things here. Like I mentioned before, position and size of clouds is also being modulated, as is the filter cutoff on the state variable filter, and that's pretty much it. I did actually have the one channel from clouds going into a 2 HP verb, but as I was setting up, the Tip Top arrived, UPS turned up and delivered that. So this is the very first patch with that Tip Top DSP and the Valhalla. I haven't even plugged the Dragonfly in to listen to it yet, so I'll probably do that later today. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. I hope this has been of some interest. I tell everybody about this thing. It's cheap, but it's wonderful. It's simple, and the simplicity is the magic for it. And it will breathe loads of life into anything that you're doing with your modular system. I truly believe that. I think if I had the authority to give awards, that would be the modular of the decade. So I'll leave you now. I'll just get out of the way, and you can sit and look at this, and I'll play the music. And thanks very much. I'll see you again soon. Oh, one thing before I go, other than the whole like subscribe thing, is I'm going to start doing a series of kind of like a meet the module, where I talk about individual modules, and I go into a little bit more depth and show a few patches. So if that's something that would interest you, let me know what you'd like to see. And if you want it to be kind of more an overview of a module, if you really want me to dig deep and show you every kind of thing that it can do, I think that's interesting. I spend quite a lot of my time watching them, even about modules that I know really well and I've owned. So if you're one of those people, let me know. And I'll see you all again soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.